And that this goes back to a post that the Master's Nemesis put up on August 12th, last Friday, on Democratic Underground, titled "Time to Start a National Boycott Open Carry Business Campaign." And the Master's Nemesis writes, "Unless citizens with common sense become radical about open carry laws, we'll have weapons in the open in all of our public places. We have to treat open carry people like smokers and let them know that they're not welcome in public. That means we have to have a national pamphlet to present to businesses across the nation demanding that they post no gun signs in their establishment. If the legislatures won't challenge these idiots, then citizens have to challenge these people, chase these people off in some way. I personally will not tolerate someone with a weapon in my presence. We must publicly shun these fools. Anyone who is so paranoid that they have to be armed all the time is too dangerous to carry a gun." Interesting idea. I remember back in the 80s and 90s, I used to smoke. You know, I started smoking when I was, I don't know, 13, something like that, in that neighborhood, 13, 14. I was a young teenager. My parents both smoked. This was in the 60s. This was when, you know, Ronald Reagan was on TV wearing a lab coat telling us that doctors smoke Chesterfields when they get sore throats. This was, you know, there was the study on cancer was yet to come out, as I recall, or if it had come out, it was highly controversial. And both my parents smoked, and I smoked, and several of my brothers smoked. I mean, it was just like everybody I knew smoked. We grew up in you know, blue-collar South Lansing, Michigan. And I quit smoking when I was 21, when Louise and I had been married for about 4 or 5 months, and she said, "Hey, I'm pregnant." And she smoked too, by the way. And she said, "I am quitting smoking, and I'm cutting back on caffeine, and I'm going to go on a good diet, and we're going to have a healthy baby, and you are going to stop smoking too. And if you don't stop smoking, you are not going to be sleeping in our bedroom." And so I put a pack of cigarettes on top of the pack that I had with me at the time. I put them on top of the refrigerator, and every time I walked by them, I'd talk to them, and I'd say, "I'm stronger than you, and you SOBs are not going to get me." And it was not easy, and it was not fun, but and, you know, I mean, Louise to this day still loves the smell of tobacco and craves it. I don't. My response was the exact opposite. And I think it's like, you know, I've talked before about kind of my nightshade allergy. Tobacco is a nightshade plant. And, you know, if I'm around a lot of smoke, I get instantly sore throat in the back of my throat, and I get a whole body reaction to cigarette smoke. And so back in the 70s and 80s, when you could still smoke on airplanes, I used to get pretty outrageous, you know, if they stuck me in the smoking section. I had a little fan that I carried with me in restaurants. I would just leave restaurants that didn't have non-smoking sections. I remember a friend of ours, Tom Larson, owned a restaurant in Massachusetts called the Pillar House. And it was a very, very high-end, very elegant, fancy restaurant, very high-quality food. You know, white linen tablecloths. And Tom, in 1979, as I recall, became the first restaurant in Massachusetts to be entirely non-smoking. And he said that the reason, and this made the news, I mean, the Boston Globe, it got written up nationally. It was a big deal. Oh, my God, an entire restaurant, you know, a 5-star restaurant, Michelin or whatever, I mean, just top-of-the-line restaurant, went entirely non-smoking. And Tom said, for the press, he said that, you know, I'm doing this because we serve really good food here, and smoke ruins the taste of food for people who are not smokers, and we don't, you know, we're not going to let people smoke in the bar. We're not going to let them smoke anywhere in the building. So, anyhow, I remember that backlash against tobacco. And I remember companies that were in the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of companies that just overtly came right out and said, you know, a lot of small businesses in particular, that we won't hire smokers. Ours was one of them, in fact, with our ad agency and our travel agency. We did not allow smoking in the buildings, period. And you know, it was just this whole backlash thing. And people had pamphlets and flyers and little fans and, you know, just like, you know, trying to diss smokers. I'm wondering if we're on the edge of the same thing with open carry. I mean, having people walk around with giant phallic symbols strapped to their back that are capable of killing 10, 20 people in seconds seems to me. I mean, my argument against smoking in public was, why do I have to inhale a chemical that can cause cancer in me? A bullet is a whole lot worse. So what if we took that smoking approach? What if people who owned businesses started putting signs out in front that said no guns on the premises? See, you can discriminate against gun owners. They're not a protected class. You couldn't say no women allowed. You couldn't say, no people of any particular ethnic minority or religious, religion involved allowed. But you can say, just like you can say, no shirt, no service, you can say no gun, no service. I mean, with a gun, no service. So what if business owners started doing that? And what if customers of businesses, what if customers came right out and said, if you don't have a no gun policy here, I'm not going to come back? Might that, it's not quite a boycott, but might that not have an interesting and positive effect? Because this whole open carry thing, it's getting weirder and weirder. It's getting bigger and bigger, and it's more and more concentrated in these pockets of white supremacy around the country. So I tossed that out. It's sparked, quite a conversation. And one of the things to remember, by the way, is that this would simply be a return to the Old West. Matt Dillon did not allow people to carry guns in his town. Deadwood, Dodge, I'm forgetting the name of all the famous Western towns. Every single one of them had a no-gun policy. You had to, if you came into town, you had to go right straight to the sheriff's office and check your gun. He would give you a token for it and take care of your gun while you were in town. You could collect it on your way out. And, I mean, it was just, that was the way, it's not what you see on TV, but that's what it really was. So why not go back to that? Do cities have the power to go back to that, given the Heller decision of the Supreme Court? Probably not. But businesses? I believe that businesses would have the right and the power to do that. So what do you think about that? And might this be a way to start pushing back against this gun craziness that is out there? And it really is craziness. We're a gun-saturated society. You have 15,000 people a year committing suicide with guns. You've got, more than that being killed by guns. Almost every day, a child someplace in the United States is accidentally killed by a gun, by themselves or by another child. We have mass shootings happening at the rate of 2 or 3 a week that typically they're only 4, 5, 6 people. So they no longer even make the news anymore. But we're averaging around 2 mass shootings a week in the United States. It's time to do something about this, isn't it? Haven't we hit a threshold where, let's go back to, okay, you want to hunt? Take your gun out during hunting season. You want to do target practice? Go to the target range. You can rent a gun or you can take your gun there, but take it in a locked gun case. You want to keep a gun at home? Fine. You have to have, a locked case so that nobody can get into it. And let's license gun owners and require them to have insurance and register guns. It's just simple stuff.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And I don't think any of it is a violation of any quote constitutional rights. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I think this is a solid thing.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.